Film. Dina Kodiak, NBC News Radio.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Real Men of Real Estate radio show. I'm your host, Patrick Franz, the Note Mentor. And when you tune into my radio show, you're going to learn about note investing, mortgage note investing, and you'll learn how to create cash flow from real estate without owning the real estate. I mean, who really wants to deal with toilets and tenants and termites and all the other troubles associated with being a landlord? Really, who does? But I plan to bring to you on my show amazing guest speakers from the note investing industry so that you can get a well-rounded education of note investing and find out how you may be able to change your life through passive income by being a mortgage note investor, maybe not a landlord, right? And so financial intelligence, of course, is what I preach, but note investing is what I teach. Now, you guys all know who have listened to my show that this is designed for informational purposes, folks. It's not offered as legal or investment advice. It's provided under the assumption that if you are going to get engaged into any type of investment, it's best to seek legal counsel and make sure that you're getting the right professionals on your team to make sure that you're making the right choices. And so this is just from life experience, and these are opinions by myself and my guests. But speaking of guests, we're going to get right into it today because, you know, I have a special guest on. Desi Arnaz is going to be my guest on the show today. And what we're going to be talking about, folks, today is why note investing can be a really great hedge against maybe market turndowns. You know, we all invest in the stock market. We have cryptocurrencies out there, and there's being a landlord and all of these other things. And maybe note investing can be a hedge, especially maybe against a market turndown like we may see coming up shortly. But Desi's extensive background and his wisdom are always awesome to listen to. So you're going to want to go ahead and stay tuned in to the show today here on KCAA. And I'm going to bring in Desi, and we're going to talk about why note investing and why note investing is such a neat thing. And again, bleeding into why perhaps it could be a good hedge against other options like stocks or physical real estate. So Desi Arnaz, my guest, come on and introduce yourself to all the listeners here and let them know who's Desi Arnaz and, you know what, why note investing.
Hello, Patrick. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on today. I do appreciate it. And well, you know, we're talking about one of my favorite topics. So when you invited me, I was like, yes, I'll do it. I'll do it. So let's get the word out to these people about note investing. I'm a big fan. I know that you have notes in your portfolio as well. So I've been investing in mortgage notes now since 2013, Patrick, and I haven't looked back. Prior to that, I had been investing in real estate, like a lot of people, right? I did that for 33 years before that. But once I found notes, I decided to get rid of all my rental properties because I was tired of being a landlord after more than 3 decades. And I've been investing in paper, being the bank, so to speak, for homeowners. They pay their mortgage payments to me is just a much better option.
Yeah, I understand that 100%. I'm with you. And, you know, for those folks who have no clue what we're talking about and they're saying, what are these guys saying? Can we give a little background real quick? What's a mortgage note? What does it mean to invest into one?
Oh, okay. Good question. Well, a mortgage note is just like any other promissory note. And here's what I mean by that. Anytime a person owes someone else money and they reduce it to writing, they put it on a piece of paper, they've literally created a note, an IOU. And so a mortgage note is a promissory note that has teeth, if you want to say that, because what happens is the mortgage note actually says, I owe you money, yes, And if I don't pay you, you can take my real estate away from me. And then you can sell it or do whatever you want to do with it. So that's what I like about it, because not only do I get the monthly cash flow because they owe me money, but I have a backup, a fallback position, Patrick, in the event they don't pay.
Yeah, so that's what's so nifty about it, right? Banks have been doing this for a long time. I always have had those statements said that, you know, banks don't flip houses and banks don't act as landlords and have a big quiver of rental properties. Banks are in the money business. They lend money. They lend money with collateral, and they make interest, right? Not rent. They don't collect rent. They collect mortgage payments with interest. And what is interest for the bank, Des?
That's profit for the banks. and what I love about the way the banks have structured these mortgages is when you first take out a mortgage, and any homeowner can attest to this, but in the early years of a mortgage and you make your mortgage payment, most of that payment is interest, which it means profit for the lender. So the lenders, the banks have structured mortgages, Patrick, so that they get their profit out first. Then you get to pay off your house. That's how it's set up. And so when I step into the bank's shoes, when I buy one of these mortgages from a bank, then I literally have the same setup that they had, which is really cool. Helps me out
So
a
you're
lot.
telling me you can collect monthly cash flow from a piece of real estate without owning the real estate?
Yes. And most of the cash flow that you get is going to be pure profit for you, because that's how the system was set up, not by me, but by the banks. They're the ones who set up the whole mortgage system. We're just benefiting from it as lenders, as mortgage note investors, I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. We literally step into the shoes of the bank. We take the place of the bank and we collect mortgage payments from a homeowner, not rent from a renter. And it's a really neat thing. And, you know, a lot of folks are kind of worried about the markets right now. And for good reason. We know that we've been propped up in the stock market and real estate market at a pretty good ratio here for especially the last couple of years. And whenever anything overinflates, it either pops or it at least deflates back down to normal. It's normal, right, for that to happen. And so we understand that the stock market is kind of volatile right now. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And we don't know when the big crash will happen, but it's always inevitable. And same with real estate. There's always reasons for it to come back down and equalize. And so there could be danger in both of those scenarios for some investors. When the stock market crashes, people can lose. When the real estate market crashes, people can lose. Why is note investing perhaps a hedge against these types of other investments, versus maybe say stock market or owning rentals?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I see it as a hedge, and I do recommend to people often, Patrick, that they put notes in their portfolio. I don't tell them they shouldn't be in the stock market, because who am I to tell them where they should be? But I do recommend that they seriously consider putting notes into their portfolio, because when you have a mortgage note in your portfolio, you understand that people still need to have a roof over their head, right? So most people, even when the market crashes, most people still pay their mortgage payment, don't they?
Yeah.
Overwhelming majority. And so you're not really hurt by that. Now, the fact that you have the real estate as collateral might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, because maybe the value of the real estate has gone down. But at the end of the day, what I've experienced in the last 9 years as a note investor, I rarely have to go into foreclosure. Most of the time, people pay their mortgage payments. And so it makes a good hedge in that sense. And we can get into it if you like, but basically, even if you had to take the property back, you're going to be in great shape.
And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that here a little bit further on down the road in the show, and discuss what happens when you're a note investor and what options you have and why it's such a neat and attractive investment vehicle. But, the stocks, we don't tell people not to go to stocks. We're not steering people away from stock market. Many multimillionaires and billionaires made in the stock market. I'm not steering you away. But there's one thing about the stock market, is that you're not in control of the investment, right, Des?
Right. Yeah. You control nothing.
You control nothing, right? And then stocks, I know that there's things called dividend stocks, and there's other ways that you can actually get some sort of cash flow by investing into a stock. It's not the norm. Most people just look at their stock account on the computer each day and hope that it's going up and not down. But these notes come with monthly cash flow. Again, it's like collecting rent. It's like you're collecting cash flow from real estate, but you don't have the headaches or the liabilities involved in being a landlord. So if someone trips and falls on the property, if the roof leaks, if the toilet breaks, if those things happen, they don't call you, right, Des?
Right. Yeah, it's not your property any more than you would call your bank, Patrick, if your roof started to leak or whatever. And so I love that part of it as a note investor. It's one of the things that attracted me, because I had been having lots of calls over the last, prior to notes, 33 years prior to notes. I can't even tell you how many calls I've had from people with problems that I had to address. But I like notes because it just doesn't require a lot of effort. I have a large note portfolio right now. And my note portfolio gives me two things that I never had when I had a large, well, I didn't have a large real estate portfolio. I had 22 properties, 29 doors. So, you know, I mean, that's not great, but it wasn't terrible. That's what I had at once. I'd buy and sell and buy and sell. But overall, I had about, let's just call it just under 30 tenants at one time. And that was painful.
I just heard some current landlords cringe when you said that.
Yeah, that was painful, man. I didn't like it. I never liked being a landlord, but I knew that you got cash flow from real estate. And what I wanted was cash flow, because I've come to understand, and I've understood for many decades, cash flow is what sets you free. You know, I flipped a lot of houses too, Patrick, as a real estate investor. And I've made as much as $200,000 on a single property flip. But even in those scenarios, it was always about the next deal, right? I never could just rest easy and say, you know, I've got it pretty made right now. I always had to do another deal because I wasn't getting cash flow for the most part. Even on my rentals, I get cash flow and it'd come in well for a while, then I'd lose a tenant, so I'd lose some of my cash flow, or maybe I'd have to replace a furnace or a roof, and then there goes a year's worth of cash flow gone out the window. That kind of stuff just really kept my yields overall at around 7 or 8%.
So it's your experience level is why I have you on the show. Hey guys, Desi Arnaz, experienced real estate investor, house flipper. He's been a landlord. He's done it all. And he's understanding why notes are the way, because it's passive cash flow that sets you free. And we're going to be right back after this first commercial break. And there's going to be more from Desi Arnaz here on the Real Men of Real Estate radio show. Be right back.
I love how New School is able to help me greatly with my career,
because they actually have experience working in the field.
The greatest thing about New School is the fact that there are so many different disciplines, which allows you to really understand and get a good insight into different types of design. And I think it's that whole changing mindset of what design can really do for a city, and this is kind of the place to be.
This environment cultivates creative thinking.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental property, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about. So join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Real Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA Radio. This is your host, Patrick Franz, and I'm back with my guest, Desi Arnaz, professional investor. And we were just talking before the break about note investing, why it's a great thing, and why it might be a hedge against market turndowns. And I think the ultimate thing is, Desi, since you were a landlord and you realized that not only is it a headache, or can be a headache, but also the actual net returns at the end of the day, once you have expenses and people are calling you about repairs and all the other things, that it became something that was kind of a job, right? And then you look at the stock market, and the stock market, people don't have control over it. You don't know when it's going to crash, how far it's going to crash, and people, can't sleep at night. And then you've gone through all of it. And so now you've gravitated towards buying discounted mortgage notes, buying the debt on physical real estate, taking the place of the bank and collecting cash flow every month without having to be the landlord. And how cool is that? Now, let's talk about if somebody wanted to be a note investor and instead of buying, say, a rental property, they instead wanted to go ahead and buy a mortgage note and put a mortgage note in their portfolio. Well, what does that look like? I know you like to talk about the three outcomes. You like to talk about the fact that you're in control when it comes to note investing. And can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. And well, first of all, when notes are traded on the secondary mortgage market. And so when you want to buy a note, you're going to buy it at a discount, as Patrick just said. And what does that mean? That means that you're going to pay less for that note than the borrower or homeowner actually owes to the lender. So for example, if someone owes $100,000, you won't pay $100,000 for the note, you'll pay less. How much less? It depends, right? It's a negotiated amount, but it will be less, which means you're going to have equity right away. That was one of the first things I love about investing in notes, instant equity. But once you own a note, then at that point, only one of three things will happen. Either the people are going to pay you like they're supposed to, or maybe they'll pay you off early, or maybe they won't pay you. That's what happens anytime somebody owes you money, isn't it? Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Pretty much it.
They're going to pay you as agreed by your contract. They're going to pay you off early because they just want to get you paid off and they're sick of having the payment to you. Or maybe they just stop paying you and they say, sorry, I don't have any money.
Yeah. I had a conversation like that with somebody today, but now they say they have money again. They want to start paying again. So that's interesting to say that you're in control with note investing versus sort of being out of control with stocks or maybe a market crash in real estate, because you just don't know when it's going to happen or how far it's going to crash. Let's talk about the control in these three outcomes. So somebody buys a mortgage note and they just buy the note to collect monthly cash flow, kind of like being a landlord. Right.
And what does that look like? You said they could just pay as agreed. What does that mean?
Okay, well, let's just say, for example, the person has a $1,000 a month mortgage payment, not the taxes and the insurance, just the mortgage payment itself. You're going to collect that mortgage payment for the remaining term. Now, if it's a 30-year mortgage, that means for 30 years, you're going to collect $1,000 a month. That's freedom, okay? And if you have a lot of those, that's really awesome freedom, right? And so if they're going to pay you as agreed, that means they just make their payments for the next 30 years. Now, one of the things that I'd like to point out is that you don't have to keep a mortgage for 30 years, Patrick. You can sell it early, just any more than you have to keep a rental house for 30 years, right? Even though you have a 30-year mortgage on your rental house, you can sell it anytime you want. Same thing's true for this. So if someone pays their payments to me, then I'm going to earn a nice return on my money. And my return will actually be higher than the note rate that these people are paying. And that's kind of a strange phenomenon too. Should I talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned that we buy these things at a discount. And so just for round numbers, let's say somebody owes Wells Fargo $100,000 and you want to go in as a note investor and take over that $100,000 worth of debt. But you're saying that you don't pay $100,000 cash to buy that debt. Yeah, elaborate on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay $100,000 for a $100,000 note. Wells Fargo will sell me that mortgage note for less than $100,000. And let's just say we negotiate to buy that mortgage note for $90,000. that means the day I buy that note, I actually have a $10,000 equity position because the homeowner still owes me $100,000, the same $100,000 they owed to Wells Fargo. And that's, people find that strange. And they say, why would Wells Fargo sell a $100,000 debt for $90,000? And the answer is, frankly, because that's just how it's done, right? We didn't invent this business or the model, but that's been happening for a long time. We'll talk about that maybe today, but that's how it's done. And so you'll go in, you'll buy it at a discount. And by buying it at a discount, now you're earning interest on the 90,000, and you're earning interest on the 10,000 that you didn't even put up. And so when you put those two together, the $90,000 that you invested is actually earning a very good return for you.
Yeah. And then, so like we talked about earlier, these are backed by physical real estate. The promissory note is backed by physical real estate. And so it's an investment with collateral. And you talk about always that it's one of the only investments out there where you can get protection, because you're protected by collateral. You get a nice return, a good yield on your money, and monthly cash flow, and all three of those things in one place, right? And so that's what's so cool about it. Like you said, option one, if somebody buys a mortgage note, you could own one and they can just pay you as agreed. Means somebody's making their monthly mortgage payment on time every month for the next 25 years or however long is left on that promissory note. And you've got now nice collateral backed investment that you're sitting on that's spouting out $1,000 a month or whatever it were in monthly cash flow. And it's got that good yield that is comparable to the stock market and rental properties by net or even better, right?
Yeah, I find it better.
And then you said there's a second thing that could happen, which is maybe the homeowner pays you off early. Right. And there's a couple reasons why a homeowner would pay off their mortgage early. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. As we know, most Americans sell their homes or refinance their properties every 5 to 10 years. That's kind of statistically speaking, that's what happens. And so if I buy a person's mortgage, statistically, there's a high probability that they're going to pay me off. They're not going to pay me for the next 25 or 30 years. They're going to refinance. Maybe they're going to sell the property, or something will happen. Right? Maybe they'll hit the lottery and pay it off. But when they pay me off, now they will pay me off the $90,000 in my example, plus the $10,000 that I never even put up. So in addition to the monthly payments that I've collected during the time before they pay me off, now I collect the entire balance plus the $10,000 that was my instant equity in that deal to begin with. And when you put those numbers into a financial calculator, Patrick, I'll give you a good example. I have one that I did the other day. I was earning 10% if they pay me like they're supposed to, and I was earning 18% if they paid me off early. I mean, it's really a phenomenal boost to my return on my investment because they paid me off early and I collect that discount.
Yeah, and I know that's one of the things that people who love being a landlord may say to you is these notes, they eventually pay off, you get your cash back, and then what? Now I have this rental property that I'm planning to keep for the next 50 years, and it's always going to spit off cash flow. But you did cash in something in the 18 sort of percent return on your dollar. And as a professional note investor, you just put the money back out into another note deal at that time. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah, you just put it right back out into another note deal. And if you want to use some of the cash that you're collecting each month, what I suggest to people is just use the interest. Don't touch the principal, right? We've all heard that. Live on the interest, right? And that's all I'm saying. Just live on the interest. You have plenty of interest there. Remember, mortgages, especially in the early years, is primarily interest, which is profit for you if you own the note. So, but yeah, I get the fact that, rental houses are forever income, but it's not freedom. There's more to it than money. There's also freedom. And I have a peace now that I never had when I was flipping houses or when I was a landlord. I have a peace that, well, how much is that worth, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have to sacrifice my return on investment to get that peace.
Right. In fact, I mean, and the other thing, the part of that piece, I believe, that note investors tend to have is because, again, when we talk about other scenarios that are out of your control, when we talk about how your well in control when you're in the bank's shoes as a lender in a mortgage note investment, that it bleeds right in perfectly to say, well, the one thing that people who are new to note investing always ask Des is the third thing that we were going to cover here, which is if you owned a note, number one, they could pay you as agreed. Number two, they could pay you off early. And since you bought that debt at a discount, it usually ups your yield as an investor. And it doesn't mean anything bad at all for you. And the other third thing that everybody freaks out about, I think, Des, is like, well, listen, you buy this mortgage, a homeowner's living there. And what if they stop paying their mortgage payment? Because that can happen, right? People can become delinquent. And what happens then?
Happens all the time, right? It happens every day somewhere. Somebody stops paying their mortgage. That's why there are foreclosures. So, well, here's what happens, Patrick. If people stop paying their mortgage, you are their lender. You have a bunch of options, but worst case scenario is you say, you know what? I'm just going to take the real estate. And for me, that's always the last resort. My first option is to try and do something called a loan modification where I can get them back on track, get them paying again. But let's just say if we've gone through that and that's not an option for whatever reason. So I just take the property back. And the way that I do that is very simple. People think that's a big drawn out process. And maybe it is from a legal standpoint, but not for me. I'm the investor. What I do is I write a check for maybe $2,000 to a local attorney that handles foreclosures. They go to court. They deal with all the legal hassles. When it's all done, they give me something called a deed. It's normally called a sheriff's deed. And so it comes from the sheriff of the county where the property is located. And that deed gives me complete ownership of that real estate. And once I have that deed, I record it. All I need to do then is call a local real estate agent and have them sell the real estate. And most of the time, the real estate is more expensive, more valuable than what I have invested.
That's the beautiful thing. And that's why we get attracted to it because, and again, why are we saying it might be a hedge? Well, you're in control there, right? If the house or the collateral is worth far more than what you've invested, if it's coming with a monthly cash flow payment every month on a certain date, right? You've got that nice yield. The compounding effect of that cash flow could really take place and help you get wealthier faster. And it's just something that you're in more control of because, again, of all these exit strategies you have, you're really in control. You've got so many options, folks. Do a loan modification to help out the borrower and be a good person. Keep them in the house. Wipe debt off of the books with your pen because you can. You can save them from foreclosure. You can, do everything in your power to help these folks out. Keep your cash flow going, keep your yield up, and keep compounding. So that's the beauty. And here's what we're going to do, folks. We're going to go ahead and take our second commercial break. It's going to be fast. We're going to be right back on the Real Men of Real Estate radio show here with my guest, Desi Arnaz, talking about mortgage note investing. Do not go anywhere.
I love how New School is able to help me greatly with my career.
Because they actually have experience working in the field.
The greatest thing about New School is the fact that there are so many different disciplines, which allows you to really understand and get a good insight into different types of design. And I think it's that whole changing mindset of what design can really do for a city, and this is kind of the place to be.
This environment cultivates creative thinking.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Hello and welcome back to the Real Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA Radio. This is Patrick Franz, your host. We're talking about note investing, mortgage note investing with my guest, Desi Arnaz, professional investor. And, during the break, we just had a quick chat and Desi says, oh man, we ran out of time last segment. Can I go over this deal that I had? Because They just gave the house to me. And so let's elaborate on that. Des, explain the deal that you were just discussing with me.
Okay, sure. Well, Patrick, I purchased a mortgage on a house in New Jersey. And this gentleman and his wife, it had a nice home. They had remodeled it and everything, but for whatever reason, they fell on hard times and could no longer afford the house. And so I reached out to them before filing a foreclosure. I reached out to them to say, hey, what's going on, guys? And they told me that they could no longer afford the house and they didn't want a foreclosure on their credit. And they asked me if they could just give me the house back, just give it to me. Well, I paid $165,000 for the mortgage note. The property at the time that I bought the mortgage note, the property was appraised at about $240,000. But by the time they reached out to me to give me the property back, I was able to sell that property for $255,000. Remember, I only paid $165,000 for it. So there's a $90,000 upside on that deal. And I didn't have to sweep it out even. I didn't have to swing a hammer. They moved out of the property. They took all their stuff with them. I used a technique called cash for keys. So I gave them a couple $1,000 so they could move. And I did not put a foreclosure on their credit so that as soon as he's working again, they can go buy another house. It was a win-win all the way around.
And you know, what a cool thing, because maybe Wells Fargo or somewhere, there's a big bank and they're just a number. These borrowers, they're just a number on a sheet of paper, and there's gatekeepers. Now here's Desi, a professional investor, takes the place of the bank and does cash for keys. How neat is this? Somebody got themselves in financial distress, going to be foreclosed upon. Desi says, well, I'm not going to foreclose upon you. And in fact, what I'll do is if you sign the house over to me, I won't foreclose. And also I'll give you a couple $1,000 that'll help you guys to be able to move out and to be able to move on with some dignity. And what a win-win situation that is. Great for those folks and great for you as the investor. So that's why we love it. And, you know, I think a lot of people are starting to understand this, Des. We've got radio shows like this. We've got YouTube channels. We've got people talking about notes now. The word is spreading, and there's a lot of newbies, and I don't hate that term, but there's a lot of brand new note investors that are getting into it because they kind of hear or see the opportunity that's available, and they're flooding the industry, right? And you know this because you have a coaching group called the Note Investor University. Is that right?
Yeah, I started teaching people, Patrick, because everybody was asking me 2 or 3 years ago, right before COVID. So I guess that's about 2 years ago. And I thought, well, let's just make a little program. So we've made a program where we teach people how to invest in notes, because I'm a firm believer you should never invest in anything that you don't understand. And so we help people understand the space.
And people would only get into it because they understand the opportunity. Some people don't see it, so be it. But others say, what'd you guys just say? What? This sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
And so, you know, let me ask you, even though this note investing has been going on for a really long time, not a lot of people know about it. Why?
Yeah, that's the question I asked myself when I first found out about mortgage notes in 2013. I thought, I used to own a Century 21 franchise and 2 different mortgage companies. And I thought, how could I not know about notes? How could that even be? Well, there's an old saying, Patrick, you don't know what you don't know. Okay. And that was me. And so when I found out about notes, I started doing research to figure out how it had escaped me for 30 years. And as it turns out, it didn't really escape me for 30 years. It wasn't available to us. Because here's what happened. Back in 1938, Congress approved the creation of an organization called Fannie Mae. We've all heard of Fannie Mae, Federal National Mortgage Administration, right? Fannie Mae's charge was to do this, to create a market where mortgages could be bought and sold, kind of like the stock market, where stocks are bought and sold, right? And so Fannie Mae created something called the secondary mortgage market. And on the secondary mortgage market, mortgages have been traded since 1938. Trillions of dollars have been traded on that secondary mortgage market. It's just, it was traded by wealthy individuals, large banks, large insurance companies, large corporations. Those were the only players in that space all that time. But then in 2008, they were overwhelmed with foreclosures when the Great Recession came. you guys might have heard stories of people living in their house for 2 years and 3 years without getting foreclosed. It's literally because the secondary market did not have enough people, did not have enough infrastructure to foreclose. And so they were letting people stay in their homes for years without foreclosing. And they were forced to have to open up a window of opportunity to get this stuff off their books. And so they started selling off these mortgages to ordinary folks. And that happened during the 2008, 2011 timeframe. And so this opportunity, even though it's been around since 1938, for us, it's still ground floor.
Yeah. And so, talk about that a little bit. I mean, you're a coach in the business. And again, noteinvestoruniversity.com, I believe it is, right?
Yeah, that's our website, noteinvestoruniversity.com.
Noteinvestoruniversity.com. Desi teaches people how to create financial freedom by using this investment vehicle as an option. And so that's so cool. But so you deal with a lot of new people. There's a ton of new people flooding the industry, seeing the opportunity. Really, the opportunity began maybe in 2011 or 12 for us as a whole. And where's it going? I mean, there's a lot of fluctuation in these markets, and there's things going on that are kind of under the hood, so to speak, that a lot of people don't understand. But is there still a major opportunity for people to get into note investing, learn what they need to learn to become an expert, and be successful and create wealth for themselves?
Yeah, and that's a question that I had at the beginning when I first got started. It's like, okay, I understand this window of opportunity has been open, but I thought that as soon as the market turned around, they were going to close that window. I thought they're going to get these ordinary folks out of this thing and go back to the way that they were, but they didn't. And there's reasons for that, which we won't go into today, but the opportunity is still here, and it's going to be here for a long time. And as people discover it, they're going to see what I just showed, and that is there's 3 possible outcomes. All 3 are decent. Why not put some money there? And so there's going to be more and more demand for this stuff. And by the way, this market is a lot bigger and a lot more active than traditional real estate markets. So if you think there's a lot of real estate to be had, there's a lot of mortgages to be had, because one piece of real estate can actually have multiple mortgages, can't it? It can have first mortgages, second mortgages, third mortgages on one house. There's a lot of real estate. Plus, mortgages get sold a lot more often. If you've ever been a homeowner, Patrick, you probably have received a letter from your lender saying, we've transferred your loan to this new lender. Starting next month, please pay those guys. Don't send the money to us. That means your mortgage was sold. That happens a lot. And so
mine in the first year.
Yeah,
in the first year after they originated my mortgage, it was sold to a different bank.
It happens a lot. It happens all the time. And so that could have been me that bought your mortgage, or it could have been any one of these people that are listening today. They could have bought your mortgage. You'd never know because you have no say-so about it. Right. It gets sold to who it gets sold to. You just keep making your payments. Otherwise, you could face problems, right? Yeah. So I see the opportunity as being huge. I see it also, I see another opportunity. The biggest opportunity, I think, is the opportunity to be the go-to person in your circle. You see, because not everyone wants to learn how to be a note investor. Some people just want to put their money to work, but they don't know how. Most people who want to invest in real estate, they know a real estate broker they can call. Or if they want to invest in stocks, they know how to do that. But even if they like notes, most people don't even know where to get started. And so if you've been trained in that space, I show people how to use very specific techniques to create a portfolio for themselves, while at the same time helping people in their circle of influence, helping those people get their money out of the stock market where it's really at risk, or out of banks where it's just pitifully under yielding, underperforming, right? And put it into something that's safe and high yield, and at the same time, the note investor can do really well. And I can show people how to build a $1 million note portfolio in about 4 years, and they'll have $6,000 to $10,000 a month coming in for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and that's the difference. I mean, somebody could be an expert house flipper, right, Des? And they've got the crews and they know how to get the projects and put the houses under contract and go to Home Depot and do all the things to manage flipping a house, which is a heck of an undertaking and can be. And with that level of expertise as an expert house flipper, maybe that house flipper doesn't have enough money to fund the entire flip, and they need 100 grand to go to Home Depot and buy the materials and pay the crews. Well, they can go to a private investor, right, and say, hey, maybe they have a rich uncle. Hey, Uncle Joe, I'm flipping another house. I need 100 grand, and I'll pay you a certain rate of return on that money if Uncle Joe's happy with that and trust the house flip skills of the guy. Well, the point is, you guys can do that. You can build expertise in the note investing space. You don't have to be a house flipper and manage contractors and go to Home Depot and do all of that. But could you offer somebody a wonderful investment opportunity to fund one of your note deals instead of maybe fund one of your house flips? Yes, it's possible. Yes, it's possible.
Yes. And they're happy to do it. They're happy to do it. I spoke with a guy this morning too that said, I really am looking forward to being a lot more passive. He owns several notes right now, but he's retired and he travels a lot. And he said, even though my notes don't require very much work of me, he said, I'm thinking I really want to just be more passive. And so he is in a position where he has a lot of money and he's more than happy to say, hey, I'll put up the money, you do the deal, let's just split this. Right? There's a lot of people like that.
There's a lot of people like that. That's what I'm saying. And so you're probably getting an influx of people that are calling you, can you help me? And that's why you started the Note Investor University. At the noteinvestoruniversity.com, they teach you how to do all of this and set yourself financially free using notes. And we're going to talk exactly about that, your coaching group, Desi, what you offer, how people can benefit, and the wonderful affordability level of that. So folks, you're not going to want to go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back on the Real Men of Real Estate radio show with my guest, Desi Arnaz, and we're going to talk about the Note Investor University. We'll be right back.
Yes.
I love how New School is able to help me greatly with my career.
Because they actually have experience working in the field.
The greatest thing about New School is the fact that there are so many different disciplines, which allows you to really understand and get a good insight into different types of design. And I think it's that whole changing mindset of what design can really do for a city, and this is kind of the place to be.
This environment cultivates creative thinking.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about. So join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections. Hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Alrighty, folks, we're back. Thank you so much for being patient on that quick break. I'm back here with the Real Men of Real Estate radio show. Patrick Franz, your host, with my guest, Desi Arnaz, talking about note investing, how it can be a hedge against falling markets, how you're more in control with note investing, and all the newbies that are getting into it, because it's obviously a great opportunity that's been flooding this market since about 2010 and 11 because of the mortgage market crash. Great opportunity, still more opportunity. But if people get into this thing new, it's not the same as real estate investing, is it, Dad?
No, No,
it
it's not
requires
at
some
all.
training, some coaching, some learning. It's kind of niche. It has its own stuff. So tell me why you decided to open the Note Investor University and what you offer to people there.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, I started the Note Investor University because I started teaching people about notes just because everybody wanted to learn. First, it was just my daughter, right? And then other people started asking me, teach me this, teach me that. And I thought, well, I'm teaching the same thing again and again and again to these people. Why don't I record this stuff and make some videos and make a course? And so that's what I did. And so now I have literally hundreds of videos in there for training to teach people all aspects of this space. And what it does is it gives people an opportunity to learn at their own pace. And then what I do, Patrick, I supplement that with some live interaction, one-on-one hand-holding kind of stuff. Because when you're new at something and you really don't understand it 100%, it's nice to know that there's someone you can literally pick up the phone, you can talk to, or if you're local here in San Diego, you can literally come into the office and we can have a conversation and I can help direct. So that's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, in comparison, because we're going to break down kind of what you offer to people and what kind of transformation they can expect by joining your university program, but people are charging 10, 20, 30, $50,000 for coaching this kind of thing. And I've seen a lot of these coaching groups that are just basically selling 50 videos of a video coaching session for, 15 grand and that.
Yeah.
And you decided to be a lot more hands-on, cast a much broader net to help more people get financial intelligence and understand this option and how they can even leverage other people's money. But there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just a video series, although that is one of the things that come with your coaching group.
Right.
Correct?
Right. I like the video series only because it helps people get through the basics. And I like to say, get through the basics so that I can teach you how to use that knowledge to make money. Okay. Because you need a foundation. And everything needs a foundation if you're going to build something on it. And so get that foundation and let me show you how to build your wealth on that foundation. And so what was your question here, Patrick?
Well, you've got this video training series, the basics or the fundamentals of note investing so that people can get up to speed quickly. And they get that when they join your coaching group. They get one-on-one coaching.
Yes, I give that. And then I also give other things. I give my students also an opportunity to buy mortgage notes from us that we've already, either we own them currently or we're buying them as a part of a pool. And we vet these notes. I have a full staff of people that'll go through and make sure the title on the real estate's clear, make sure all the paperwork is in order, make sure, dot all the I's and cross all the T's so that my students can get those notes and sleep well. We also give them to them at a discount below what the general public would have to pay for that very same note. There's lots of things that we do. Here's what I did, Patrick. I created a video at the noteinvestoruniversity.com. And on there, I go into what they get, right? But here's the biggest thing that they get. They become financially astute, I guess, right? I like to call it financial intelligence. They're going to be transformed from being wherever they are right now to being a financially intelligent person. They're going to know how money works, and they're going to understand the ins and outs of what it takes to make money with money and how to build wealth with the mortgage note space, within the mortgage note space.
Yeah. And again, that's what people are looking for. I mean, I hate to say it this way, but there are washed up landlords and they want to transform their life to have more time available, collect cash flow more passively, live a better lifestyle than they are now, and they can transform themselves that way.
Yeah.
The transformation that you give is awesome. And there's God, I don't know. On the mastermind calls you have every Saturday morning, there's probably 50 or 60 like-minded note investors and students that show up every Saturday, which is
those are my students and partners. We get together every Saturday. We talk about note investing. It's a private meeting, but it's for our guys. This is how we connect. The other thing I like about that particular event, Patrick, is that I see students doing business with one another. I see them partnering on deals, lending money to one another, sharing deals. Like, I can't take this one, maybe you want it. it's a really fantastic community to be a part of. And there's an old saying that who you hang around with matters, right? We tell our kids that all the time. Look, don't hang around with people that steal. Don't hang around with people that smoke and do drugs, because we know it could influence our children to steal or smoke and do drugs. Same thing's true for us as adults, right? Don't hang around with a bunch of broke people, right? Hang around with a bunch of broke people, guess what you're going to be?
100%.
Yeah.
And, I know this is going to kind of blow everyone's mind, and it's awesome that you're doing this and spreading the love. But, since there are coaching programs, 10, 15, 25, $50,000 that teach this stuff, and some people are just selling video training, but you've got the video coaching series, one-on-one coaching, Saturday mastermind calls, recorded archives, access to the networking.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. All of this, right? But then blow their minds. What's the cost of this program?
Yeah, I know. People tell me I'm crazy, but it's $149 a month to be a part of our community and our university. And there's no contract or anything like that. And certainly some of my competitors have told me I'm nuts for doing this, but my goal was different, Patrick. I'm already wealthy. I wasn't trying to become wealthy by selling trainings. I just want to help people get out of being broke. I grew up in a very poor family. I know what it's like not to have any cash or to be worried about money. But now I also know what it's like not to ever have to worry about money again. And I can tell you that's a lot better. If you build yourself a note portfolio, you do it the way that I teach, you'll never have to worry about money again, ever. It's over at that point. And that's the message that I'm trying to get through to people. And I can help a lot more people for $149 than I can for $15,000.
Amazing. And like you said, there's no startup fee, there's no long-term contract or anything. It is literally a monthly membership. It's $149 a month. You get to transform yourself into somebody that never has to worry about money again. And it can happen in just a few short years if you follow Desi's teachings and you put it to work. And though, Desi, that is absolutely amazing. I so much appreciate you being on the show today. This was fantastic. I'm glad that we record these things so that people can get these nuggets later on. And, I really just appreciate your time. So that's
I'd like to offer your listeners a special.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay. If anybody would like to just check us out, we will let them in the first month for $97 so they can just see what we're about. That's about $3 a day. Okay. They can see what we're about. They get to participate in all of our, everything we have for $3 a day.
So first month in, they're going to get it for $97. And that is the $149 a month membership. And is there a special code they can use at noteinvestoruniversity.com?
Yeah. They can use, when they go to pay, they can use the discount code. Let me see. I'll make one up right now, Patrick. How about the call sign?
How about KCAA special?
Okay.
So you heard it, folks. Go to noteinvestoruniversity.com, get into the group, the coaching group, $149 a month, but this special is $97 for your first month, so you can try it out. Special code KCAA special.
Thank you.
This is the show. We got to go. A Real Men of Real Estate radio show signing off. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.
This is KCAA.